And now, your host, Couch Tomato!
Hey, I'm Couch Tomato and I'm joined by
Hulk.
Welcome to Stuff for Movie Buffs. And today we're talking
Stranger Things Season 2.
All right, perfect. Let's get into it. Before we get into that segment we like to try is add your 2 cents. We pick a story, a peculiar story that's happened this week, and we basically, add our 2 cents to it by giving you our opinion. And this week we actually polled the Facebook crowd as well as the Patreon community. I know something funny happened with YouTube this week, so thanks guys. So I urged you guys to head to Facebook to watch this week's video. We were able to post it later, but definitely I would say follow me there as a precautionary measure if that ever happens again. But so this week, Deathstroke movie, which is part of the DCEU, nemesis to Batman, they approached the Raid director and touted him to direct the Deathstroke movie. So, like, love or hate this decision.
I love the decision, but I also kind of hate the fact that like something's wrong with the DCEU in a way, because they keep announcing all these stuff, but all these projects, but it's just like
it ain't even confirmed.
This one, yeah, it's like they just keep. It kills my enthusiasm in a way, because they're like, oh, we're making a Harley Quinn versus Joker movie. But then you hear Martin Scorsese is having a own spin-off of like a standalone Joker movie where it's something separate from the DCU. It's not even with Jared Leto, or like they'll be like, oh, they're making a Nightwing movie, but yet they still haven't like done anything about Man of Steel 2. Like, it's just, they have all these different announcements, but I don't know.
I really think that if they think we're dumb, like, it's because they look at what Marvel does, and Marvel releases anything that's news, like, hey, Tony's, Robert Downey Jr., tied his shoe today. Here's a picture of it. And we fanboy out and stuff like that. But in actuality, Marvel is very calculated and they plan years in advance. So when they release news, they've been sitting on that news for the past 2 years. DCEU is just really trying to keep up in the trades and just wants their name in the magazines and on the blogs, but they're releasing nothing. Because when I first heard this, I thought they actually got him as the director. But then I heard, touting, what? I mean, couldn't you have found a more alluring synonym? Like, no, this movie probably isn't going to get made. So I definitely agree with you on that. We did ask some folks on Facebook and Patreon. I want to read to you their 2 cents. Start off with Blacklag. When asked about, the Raid director touted for the Deathstroke movie, here's Blacklag's 2 cents from Patreon. And I quote, "Did not know they were making a Deathstroke movie. Also, have not yet seen the Raid movies. I hear the action in them is some of the best in cinema. I do not know too much about Deathstroke or whether or not his movie deserves a R rating, but if it does, and they focus on making a good standalone movie, then this movie has an opportunity to be pretty good. Can't say I'm particularly excited though, as I'm not a huge DC fan." So that's coming from Blacklag. And on Facebook, comment from Ross Grimes Smith. I asked on Facebook, like, who would you like to see direct the DC EU movie? He said Clint Eastwood. Haha, but seriously, I'd get John Carpenter or Sylvester Stallone. So some traditional picks, and Sly being untraditional, but he's coming along. I know he's going to direct Creed 2, but I just don't think that'll ever happen because he's kind of married to Marvel right now with Guardians of the Galaxy, but we'll see. So all in all, that's their 2 cents. If you ever want to, whether you want to send in the audio or be a guest on the podcast, feel free to visit us on Patreon. Our link will be in the description, and add your 2 cents on a weekly basis. All right, moving along. Stranger Things Season 2 hit streaming this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, to make this a little more easier for us, because I know we have tough schedules, originally the plan was, and it still is the plan, we were going to break this, this episode into 2 parts. So we only really saw episode 1 through 4. And then the next episode we'll do, it'll focus on episode 5 through 9.
Yep.
Right. So I haven't seen episode 5 yet. So some of this is going to get into fun territory too, where we're going to guess what happened. If you binged watched everything so far, good for you. If you'll notice some of my predictions are going to be off, it's just because I haven't had the luxury of seeing the whole season yet. Yeah, so that's it. So let's have some fun here. And for those of, and by the way, I'm assuming that you guys have seen the episode, so it's going to be some spoiler talk here. So if you haven't seen it already, feel free to press pause on this podcast and visit us after you've seen it, or listen to the spoilers. For me, especially with TV episodes, I don't mind spoilers, but that's just me. So let's recap. If you haven't seen Stranger Things 1, season 1 in a minute, or if you just don't remember what happened, real briefly, when we last meet the main characters, 11 has destroyed the Demogorgon and she's disappeared. Will is rescued from the Upside Down, but something's not right, which is evident from his last scene in the bathroom, where he jump cuts from our reality to the Upside Down. Let me ask you this before we dive into season 2. Hope, what are your overall thoughts on season 1?
I loved it. Like, it was one of my favorite new shows last year. So like, I really enjoyed it. Like, I was kind of anticipating this. The only thing that got me annoyed was probably like the fandom in a way, because it kind of got too hectic with, Save Barbara and all that stuff. I was just like, chill, she's just a character. Like, let her die. Like, it was okay. Spoiler alert, by the way. But
yeah, I mean, it's a little too late for that. If they haven't seen it by now, they're probably not. But
yeah, that was the only thing that got me annoyed. Like, it killed my enthusiasm just a little bit. Like, I thought the fandom was like, trying to influence too much of the show, and you kind of see that with like the first season, because with the first episode of this season, like, we'll do it
a couple episodes of this season.
Like, we'll get into it, but other than that, like, I love the show.
I liked season 1. I didn't love it like most, but I feel like season 1 of most series don't really, get good into the last few episodes because they're busy developing characters and setting up the scenarios. However, the 80s references keep you entertained throughout. And I was looking forward to season 2 because I thought that that's when this show would hit its stride, right? Because the way season 2 left off, it just left you anticipating, okay, what's going to happen next? Like, wow, that's how they end off. Like, come on, don't do this to me. So I'm really anxious to see where they go now. So now we watched episode 1. Let's break down episode 1. So it starts off with number 8. So if the name wasn't obvious enough, 11 isn't the only gifted child getting nosebleeds. You know what this reminds me of?
Well,
you remember, it's like a way better version of I Am Number 4. You remember that?
Oh, I didn't watch it. But
yeah, well, that's the thing. Nobody did. It didn't really make any money at the box office. I was one of the few people who saw it in theaters, and I was like, oh, they're trying to set up a universe. This is when YA, novels were being adapted to movies a lot. And this one is kind of the same thing. You have like 9 or so or 10 gifted children, and they're all numbered, and they have to reconnect. So that's what they're doing. They're just doing it in a more theatrical and better way, like the writing, the acting, and everything like that. So I'm not comparing this to I Am Number 4 as a knock. I think the concept of I Am Number 4 was great. I just think it was poor execution. With this, not necessarily the case. So and we also get to catch up with most of the characters and some new characters. So Sean Astin, from Goonies fame, and I know him from Goonies. That's funny. I mentioned Goonies before Lord of the Rings. So Sean Astin is Will's mom's new boyfriend. There's also a new character, Mad Max. Jason, the Red Power Ranger. I forgot his name. As Billy, I think. Wow, is his name Billy?
Yeah, that's his. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just putting that together. Like, okay, you're a different Power Ranger name this time. They're the new kids in town looking to make friends, Mad Max and Billy. But we also Will is paying visits to the doctor from Mad About You, who's and Will is the most important character in episode 1. He's having visions. At that point, what do you think his visions mean?
I like the upside down place is like moving into our reality. I think it's starting to merge to where it's just like whatever barrier like that kept us separate is like starting to really just, come unhinged. Because you see it like with the school, you know what I'm saying? Like it happens a little bit like in certain spots, but I think maybe like it's starting to where, okay, there's not gonna be no separation. Like the upside down world is gonna become our world.
It's right side up now. So,
yeah.
And keep in mind, we've seen episode 1 through 4, so we'll kind of, even though we're on episode 1, since we had the luxury of looking ahead, we could talk about this stuff interchangeably. But later, we find out that he has true sight, and what that is it's sort of like Bran from Game of Thrones, and I'm talking about Will. So he's sort of like Bran from Game of Thrones, and his ability to see, he has the ability to see into the upside down. So he explains his visions to the psychologist, and at that point, it's clear he has the makings of a perfect avatar for the monster in his dream. The monster needs him to get to our world. That's why, you're saying merge. It's the same thing, but so this is what I think. And this is a part that I don't understand, and you could just probably dive into it as well. So the part that I don't understand is because the Demigorgon had no issues stepping onto our premises in this world in season 1. You remember, right? There was a couple of times like he came out into our world to kidnap Will. He came out to the school to try to kill the kids. Yeah. And then he was like, 11 laid the smackdown on him. So he had no issues kind of like wandering and traveling through our world. So obviously we know that this new monster wants to use Will as an avatar to, go to and fro. Mm-hmm. I don't really understand that part. Here's my theory. You could, give me your theory as well. You see how Will developed true sight because he spent way too much time in the upside down? Mm-hmm. Maybe the monsters have a negative effect if they spend way too much time in our world. So their safer alternative is to travel as a parasite in our reality. So that could be something, but I'm no scientist and I know barely anything about the upside down. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I kind of like that idea, because me too, like I'm still trying to learn like what are the rules as far as like with the upside down world. Like, is it like certain areas, or does it have to be through, like you said, an avatar? What's holding him back? Like, you know what I'm saying, from being able to just fully, come into our world. But I'm pretty sure it has something to do with Will. Yeah. And
the funny thing is, the rules, they make them up as they go, because like you said, fandom kind of is running this script right now. So the end of the episode, we find out Chief Hopper has been housing the Fugitive 11. So you're like scratching your head like, what? Why is he keeping this a secret? He hasn't even told Will's mom. So this is kind of crazy. So that brings us to episode 2. So in episode 2, it tells us, it kind of like backtracks and tells us what happened to 11 after the season finale of Stranger Things, after she killed the Demigorgon. And she went to she went to the upside down, got back and went into the woods. And now she lives in a secret cabin where the government can't find her. So Smashing Pumpkins episode. And this is, you mentioned this on episode 1, when I think it's a little bit more clear in episode 2, when you see the Smashing Pumpkins, that our world is starting to blend in with the upside down. So this ends up being huge. We find out in episode 4 that, underneath the Smashing Pumpkins, and what I mean is, for those people who haven't seen it, so basically crops start decaying, and it's because of something rotten underneath, the soil. And we find out that it's actually a gateway to the upside down. So why is this important?
No, because it's like you said, like if this gateway remains open, then, you know what I'm saying, all these creatures, all these different things could just come up at any time.
And this goes to everybody out there yelling at the screen. I do this at home when I'm watching the TV. Like I extremely, when it's children, I'll get pissed. Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, what are you doing, Dustin? Like, you're an idiot right now. I show restraint, and I don't do that at theaters. But when I'm at home in the privacy of my home, I yell at the screen. So up to this point, we've only seen 2 characters really jump back and forth between the upside down without a gateway. Mm-hmm. So 11 transported after she killed the monster in season 1. Yeah. And Will is technically, going back and forth now, because he, at least from a mental standpoint, he could be in 2 places at once. So if you're a viewer, you feel safe because you're like, well, great. As long as I stay away from the lab, because that's where the portal door is, and stay out of the woods at night so the monster can't get me, I'll survive. You'll survive. So that's a lie now because, like you said, the open door and the portal to the upside down is everywhere now. It's not just in that lab basement or underneath the lab. It's everywhere now. So at any moment, a monster could pop up and meet you in your living room or meet you in your backyard. So that's scary, and I think they're expanding this whole idea of the upside down, which I think is cool. So it spans miles into the farmland, so the whole city is in danger now, basically. So in this episode, we also learn about. Well, first, let me hear what you thought about the Smashing Pumpkins, because even though you kind of theorized that in when we were talking about episode 1, but you really didn't theorize it because you saw episode 2. Is there anything else that I'm missing from that, or that's kind of like the message that you got?
No, that was like the message that I got. Like I thought it was an interesting tease, like with episode 1. Like I kind of like they kind of hinted at it because you just see it because pumpkins don't usually rot like that and then so quickly. So it's just like, oh, they thought it was poison, all this stuff, but it's just like us as the viewer, we knew it's not poison. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, go ahead.
I knew it wasn't poison, but the thing was, I didn't think it was going to be that important.
Yeah.
I just was like, oh, there's a monster coming around.
Yeah. But it's just like
that monster that Will's seeing, it's wherever it is in the upside down, it's obviously because Will keeps opening that door a little bit. It's kind of stuck in the middle, just like Will is. So it's making the poison rot. I didn't think it was going to be a gateway. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, shoot, they're in trouble. Because at first I was thinking, why don't they just move to California? It's far away from the portal door and the monsters can't even reach them. So, but now I'm like, oh shoot, you're not safe wherever you move because these things are coming. So that's pretty weird. So in episode 2, we learned more about Mad Max, Bobby, and Bobby is basically Bob Newman. I'm not really sure about the last name, but that's Will's mom's new boyfriend. And Bob Newby. Okay, there we go. So Bob Newby is Will's mom's new boyfriend, and Billy is Power Ranger and Mad Max. So we learn about Bobby Brown, which is 11. Learn about what she was doing all this time. So when we talk about the new characters, though, who's your favorite and who's your least favorite?
Probably my favorite would probably be Mad Max. I thought she added like an interesting, like first I was just like, okay, another tomboy, but then it was just like, oh, she's kind of cool. Like I think like with the group, I think and then with 11, eventually coming back, like I think it should be an interesting, like I look forward to seeing how that works out as far as them as a group. My favorite is
Don't say it yet. Let me say my favorite,
okay.
and then you say your least.
Okay.
I think we might agree on the least favorite, but favorite is Mad Max. I agree with you there. I'm a push and agree. Actually, I think Mad Max is. I think she's a great addition to the group. I think they added her in after Bobby Brown was taking too long to sign her contract. I don't know if you remember that whole off the screen stuff, but her dad was pushing for a raise and stuff, and using some like 80s negotiation tactics. And for me personally, I know Netflix is as fair as it gets when it gets to contracts. So the fact that he was kind of like, being, disruptive, I was like, wow, they're going to replace this girl, Bobby Brown. But instead, I think they created a new character who embodies everything that we like about Bobby Brown's character. And Bobby Brown is 11. So I also think that the reason that they're giving Will powers, because True Sight is a power. I think, side note, I think the idea is everything that makes 11 cool could be learned or gained by other characters somehow. So now people could actually get powers by spending time in the upside down. So if they wanted, if Bobby Brown starts acting up off screen, they're like, all right, we're just going to give your techniques to somebody else, like number 8. But I digress. Let me get back to Mad Max. Mad Max doesn't talk like a real middle schooler. I don't know anybody who talk like that, because sometimes she sounds like they wrote her as an adult.
Yeah, I forgot one. It was so true. I forgot one. She said one word. I was just like, what?
Yep, it's when they first met her and they were inviting her to meet somewhere like with their bikes at like.
Exactly.
I'm like, nobody talks like that in middle school. What are you doing? Did they write you as like a college student? Like, get out of here. But still, other than that, I just like her being a new kid in school. I had to deal with that a couple times as a as a elementary person. I went to a couple elementary schools in a short span for moving around, so I'm able to relate to her on that level. But I like her character, and I think she makes me hate Mike because he comes off as a bully or a hater. But we'll talk about that later. So least favorite.
Billy. Like I don't know. The whole character just. I can understand like he's gonna be the bully this season and all that stuff, but at the same time, it's just I don't know. Like this whole development just seemed kind of off to me. Like it was just kind of more annoying than anything. Like it just didn't flow. It didn't feel like okay, he just seemed more crazy than anything as far as I don't know. Like it just didn't work for me.
Hey, do you like the 80s nostalgia that they put in these films? I mean, in the this series.
Yeah, it works. Like I think
If that's the case, then you're not supposed to hate on Billy because all they're doing is giving you that stereotypical bully from from those 80s movies. So I hate it though. Like you said, it's her foster brother or whatever he is. At this point, we don't know from episode 4 yet, so it'll probably reveal that later. But we're only 4 episodes in. So if that connection, their Mad Max's and Billy's connection is revealed, forgive us for not knowing yet. So he tried to run over innocent kids with the car. I thought he was going to play chicken.
Yeah.
But it looks like he was really going to run over him.
Yeah.
And also, he suggests he hates black people in episode 4. So I think it's easier to hate him. I don't, at this point, with me being African American, I don't know if there's a redeeming quality about him. But, and he thinks he's all that when it comes to basketball, and he can't even go to his left. So that's another thing. So I just thought this was kind of like a funny role to give him, being the face of the Power Rangers. And some kids aren't able to decipher, like, okay, you're in a different film. So his agent probably should have told him, like, hey, man, you probably shouldn't take this role because your fan base from Power Rangers is going to hate you. You know what I mean? So you're dealing with a young fan base. It'll be hard for me to say that that's not what some people are going to do, so but yeah, he's definitely, I agree with you. So we agree on favorite new character, least new character. And you left off Bob, which is kind of funny, but we'll talk a little bit about him later. Let's get into episode 3 now. Let me switch this up. Which of the old characters piss you off the most in this episode? Because this episode focuses on the team, basically. Like you see the kids all together. They go on a small little adventure together. Going through the hallways of their school. So here's the scenario. So now we're going to paint a picture on which of the old characters we hate the most. So, and you may not be able to pick anybody, Hulk, but I have a couple. So here's the scenarios that happen in episode 3. Dustin finds a pet gremlin in his trash. And I'm calling it the gremlin there because it's definitely a tip of the hat to that. And he wants to keep it as a pet. Will has been having his visions again, and with him being from the upside down, he sees the gremlin and he tells him like, hey, it's dangerous, and Dustin disagrees, so the monster is set loose. So that's one scenario. In this fiasco, Mike hates everyone for letting Mad Max join the group and learn about the pet Demogorgon. And I'm calling it a pet Demogorgon because that's what it's going to grow up to be. And Dustin hates Mike for agreeing with Will that the monster could be dangerous. So Mad Max hates the group for keeping secrets. And 11 hates Mad Max out of jealousy. So everybody hates everybody. So I think it's fair for us to hate some of these characters. So which of the old characters do you hate the most? Pick one or more if you feel you need to.
Okay. For me, it's not. I think it's kind of unfair because it's kind of. I would say Will, because I think his character has never really been giving a shot. You know what I'm saying? Because season 1 he was just gone for his part, and then now he's just sort of gone here because he's constantly in like a daze. Like he's not really engaged in a group. So it's just like I don't want to pick on him, but it's just like I feel like his character is just like he's never there, like really, fully invested with the group in a way. And then go.
And who does he remind you of?
What do you mean as far as?
Is that is Will not Doug from The Hangover?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He's Doug from The Hangover. You're just you. It's hard to
Exactly.
care about him because he's always missing. Like he was missing
That's a
season
good
one. But go
analogy,
ahead.
comparison. But yeah, like another thing that's been annoying is like with Nancy and Jonathan and I guess Steve, like that whole dynamic where it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like just calm down, like stop being into your feelings. Like I get it, like they're teens, you know what I'm saying? Like they're experiencing, it's just annoying.
It's not because they're teens. You hinted at it earlier. Why are they
It
into
gets to
their
the whole
feelings?
Barb thing, and then
And why is she focused on Barb when, if you remember last season, they forgot about Barb and they started focusing on, she was more invested in getting Will
yeah,
back, it seemed at one point. Like after, did she correct me if I'm wrong cuz I'm having problems remembering. Did she witness the dead body of Barb?
that I don't think so.
No, right? No, but she saw the picture and it was kind of
Yeah,
confirmed like, "Oh, Barb's dead. She's dead. I think she's dead." Oh, or did 11 like tell her or something? I don't know how it is, but I just remembered she received closure and it was like, "My best friend's gone. Let's focus on getting Will back." They spent numerous episodes where she wasn't concerned about Barb, but because
yeah.
Barb became such a cult phenomenon, and you alluded to this earlier, what do you think happened now?
No, the writers were like, okay, we gotta mention Barb again. We gotta make her, you know what I'm saying, important as far as
Yeah.
season 2. We gotta put her back in the plot. Get these fans, you know what I'm saying, give the fans something that they want and desire. Because to me, like you said, that was the only reason. Because even last season, it was just like a lot of fans like, oh, is she dead? Which was clearly like you see the body and the
But now I don't know because I mean, people spitting up slugs into sinks don't mean nothing.
yeah. So I don't know. It was just like it was so weird that fan like
It was a meme. I don't even
Yeah.
think fans really cared about it. It was that and the ego thing. It's just fun to post. But I don't think people really cared if she was alive or not. Like, like I do think that I just thought it sucks that they went after her when Nancy was just a bad friend. She's drinking. She has a
Yeah.
drinking problem on this season again. And
Yeah.
I'm like, just go home. Stop playing at the pool. So it was unfortunate. But yeah, it's not something that you need to incorporate into the writing. The part that I'm worried about, this girl might not be dead now. Because I think the writers are going to try to find a way to bring her back. Papa might not be dead. But let's not even get into that. So you were telling me about another character that you hated. Continue.
Yeah, that was it. Like just those 3 in a way, like where it's just like that whole dynamic. Like I just wanted to get cleared up like soon, like so we can focus more on the main plot. So that was like the only way. It was just like that love triangle Barb kind of thing. Like I just wanted to get kind of cleared up to where okay, they're stop being into the feelings, and it's just like what I'm saying, like the main plot gets pushed more forward. But
It's amazing you use the word love triangle when apparently she doesn't love her boyfriend. But yeah, I thought that was funny. That reminded me of how real teenagers act around that age. So my character, and you actually took it a different route. You talked about why you didn't like the characters mainly because of the writing or their story arcs. I'm talking about people I didn't like just because of their actions. Like, why would you do that? So for me, Mike, the Egon thing, I was like, hey, look, I'm black and I'm Egon. This is me personally talking. This is Barry talking. So growing up, my favorite movie, I tell you all the time, is Ghostbusters and Coming to America. Ghostbusters,
Yes,
I always loved Egon. Egon was my favorite. I grew up on the cartoon first. Then I saw the movie because I first saw the movie in Spanish on Telemundo. We didn't have cable. So Egon, whenever you're not hearing Peter Venkman's one-liners, you don't realize he's the comedic, star. So Egon was always my favorite. He was the star, and I thought he was the leader. Like that's why Red Ranger was my favorite character. I always gravitated towards the leaders. Egon was my favorite, and when they had that Winston debate, you try to make that black boy Winston. I'm like, Mike, you tripping right now, dude. There could be 2 Egons. Like nobody wants to be Winston. And I'll blame some of that on him missing 11, but he's really coming off as a-hole in, this season, because he's just exhausting his force onto his peer group a little too much. And I'm like, bro, like, you're kind of like a little annoying. He did some of that in season 1 with his friend when they were going through their beef on the bike episode.
Yeah, I love
but
that
I'm like,
episode.
okay, this part, it was warranted there because his friend was tripping. He was like, he wanted to like leave 11 out in the cold and like leave her hanging. So I'm like, all right, no, I agree with Mike on this one. But with this, the way he treats Mad Max and the way he treats his friends, and he's like, hey, they're not consulting with me, when he rarely consults with them, I dislike, Mike. Dustin, I thought Dustin was one of the most normal kids on, he was actually one of my favorite. He was my favorite out of the group. I think he was like, I guess that lovable type kid, I guess.
Yeah.
And this one, he comes off as an idiot. He's the smartest one, I think. If anybody's Egon, it's him, to be honest, because he does the research. It shows him going to the library, but he just does a classic mistake on this one when he put the whole world in danger by feeding the devil. It's a pet. He has a pet devil like Lucifer. And what's wrong? I'm like, what's wrong with that kid? I had to press pause a couple times to yell at him, and I'm like, I can't watch this. I'm telling my wife, like, I can't press play. I don't want to see what's going to happen next. The monster's going to eat him. The monster's going to eat him. There's a scene in the next episode where I'm like, man. But soon as the monster grew legs, he needed a shotgun. I'm like, why do you still love that ugly creature? But whatever. I hate him. And then the last one, Will, keep in mind, because you mentioned Will. So 11, the reason that Will gives me issues is because he's disobedient to his mother. Like, hey kid, you just got kidnapped last year. So it's like you're begging for freedom right now, when this is like the worst time to have for freedom, because it's like the anniversary of you coming back and things like that. So it's like you kind of need to chill out a little bit. But he's having these visions and people are trying to help, and he's so standoffish. So when stuff does hit the fan, people think it's business as usual. He's just a mopey teenager. He doesn't want to talk. When I'm like, some of his decisions and his actions in this film, I keep saying film, but series, I'm like, all right, it's annoying. But I also, like for you, I'm like, you were raised in a household with at least one parent, to where you understand you need to, talk to your mother. When she asks you a question, stop acting like you pay bills around here. 11 does the same thing to the chief, but she wasn't raised in a household. Like, Papa was her only parent, to where it's like she's going through some growing pains where she has to learn how to respect her elders and stuff like that. But with Will, it's like, bro, like, your mom asked you a question, answer it. Your mom told you to stay with your brother. Stop it. That's the reason why the monster got you now. So, hey, whatever. So those are the 3 characters that kind of piss me off. It's really Will, Dustin, and Mike.
Yeah. I could see that. Like with 11, like, I don't know. These kids just have to listen, but they're not. It's like, so.
I mean, I'm looking at myself being back, like, during that age. I was very, I would act out in school. So, but like, if my mom tell me something, or even a teacher, like, hey, chill out, I'll chill out, but then I'll start doing it again. But when an adult talk to me, you want to show some type of restraint. You know what I mean? And with Will, it's like, come on, man. Like, even as a kid, if something happens, like, let's pretend I say I want to go trick or treating, and my mom says no, you'll get kidnapped, and then I go trick or treating and I get kidnapped by a Demogorgon. Every time I ask to go play outside, because kids are going to be kids, they're going to push the limits and keep asking to do things. They want more freedom. So every time I ask, hey, mom, can I go play outside? She's like, nope. You want to get kidnapped again? And I'll just shut up, because I'm like, she right. I messed up. Last time I got kidnapped. So, this is my penalty. With him, it's like he keeps wanting to go off on his own, where he's having visions every 2 minutes. Like, why do you want freedom now? Like, you're crying every 3 seconds because of your visions. Like, be around the people that actually love you. You're getting called zombie boy and stuff. Cause you got zombie tendencies, bro. Like, chill. Like, I just think that part would just kept pissing me off. Like, bro. And when it's finally time for, he does the most talking when he's actually possessed. I thought that was weird. I'm like, is that you or the monster talking? Because now all of a sudden you want to be talkative? It's too late, bro. But episode 4, the one you fell asleep on. I'm sorry. So in episode 4, because Will doesn't tell anyone what's going on, he gets possessed. And another person who can't follow directions is his sister Nancy, who along with Jonathan record the government admitting to the know-abouts of Barbara's death. So these are the top two things. And we also find out Smashing Pumpkins is confirmed. It's underneath the pumpkins is a gateway to the Upside Down. So predictions. So we haven't seen episode 5 through 9. Let me hear some of your predictions on what you think will happen for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I think monsters are gonna get let loose, like because of the gateway. Like you said, like I really feel like the Upside Down world is gonna become, right side up,
mm-hmm.
and then
which is technically what happens in the last shot. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't know which is gonna. I'm feeling like a pretty important character is gonna die because I think it's gonna be hard for them to just keep everyone in the main cast alive. You know what I'm saying, for the most part. So I just want to see whether it's going to, I don't know if it's going to be an adult or maybe one of the child actors, but I really feel like a main character is going to die. Like, I'll be shocked if, like, there's
I don't really think it's that difficult I don't think it's that difficult to understand who.
What do you mean? You don't think, like, you have an idea who?
Yeah, I mean, you're a fan of 80 movies, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's obvious. Like, these things, one thing they keep doing is tipping the hat to the genre. I mean, to that time period.
Yeah.
And I don't think let's go through these characters one by one. Who has the most going on outside of this show?
That's a good question.
I mean, Finn Wolford, which is Mike, was in it.
Yeah. Because
Caleb McLaughlin is getting a lot of, different roles. And I mean, he was just in a New Edition movie, but I don't know if that's anything too major.
Yeah.
Winona Ryder, I mean, she's collecting her royalties off of Beetlejuice. So
yeah, but I know whatchamacallit, Hopper, the cop, like he's gonna be the new Hellboy.
Yeah, so stop it right there. I do think, and Equalizer 2 is coming out, so I don't know, but he does have like the most. He ends up in movies, like he always has those side roles, so he's working. And Billy. Red Ranger's franchise is kicking off.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be gone. He's
dead. The only thing I think you can't kill Hopper is because it's only like 3 policemen in that town, and the other 2 are not fit to run that station.
Yeah.
So Hopper's safe, but Billy, just because I think they're developing him to where it's just he's so hateable, I think he's about to kick it. I just think they're about to kill him. I think he's a goner. He's basically the annoying jock that nobody likes. That's horror movie trope number 1. He's dead if he's not dead already. And I also think if Billy gets killed by a monster, they owe it to Mad Max to explain how it happened. And that's a ticket in for her to learn about the Upside Down and gain acceptance from Mike and the group. Because everybody who knows about the Upside Down has a family member or close friend or relative that was impacted by the Upside Down. So this will be her initiation process. Like, okay, your foster brother died. Here's how he died. And she's like, oh yay, I'm one of you now. So I think Billy's going to be the one to go. I just think he has a lot going on with the Power Rangers franchise anyway. So, and if not Billy, who deserves to die? And he's actually a pretty nice guy, but Bobby, which is Will's mom's boyfriend, he deserves to die for that stupid advice he gave Will. What did you think this is? This ain't Nightmare on Elm Street. I thought they were gonna position it like Nightmare on Elm Street, or it did the same thing to where it's like turn your back on the monster and tell him, face your fears and like I'm not afraid of you. And I'm like, nah, bro, that Demogorgon looked like it wouldn't have stopped if you would have played that game. And he tries that junk, he goes back, and I'm like, please don't make this stuff cliche, man. Please do not use that trope. And then he's like, hey, I'm not afraid of you. And that monster is like, really? And just starts, basically doing his best Coke impression and sniffs himself up into, Will's nose. So it's either Bobby's gonna go or Billy's gonna go, but Billy or Bob.
Yeah, I think Billy for sure. I think he's gonna like you said, I think he's gonna either try to kill one of the kids, and then like maybe the monster kills him before he can, or you know what I'm saying, like something like that. And then like you said, Max is gonna see it, or maybe he's gonna try to kill Max, and then like
There you go. That's what's gonna happen. He's gonna be trying to kill Max, and then and then the brother's so overprotective anyway. He's like, hey kid, pick on somebody that's not your own size. And then he's gonna kill him, and then Max is like, what's going on? And then something's gonna happen, and she's like, oh shoot, he's possessed. It's cool, we're still good. And then something like that'll happen. But I definitely agree. Will's gonna kill somebody. Like, nah, you don't get possessed by a monster and start telling your mom what to do, like, run me another bath. And everything's gonna be all good. Like, he's gonna have some type of murder attempts. And then the other thing we haven't talked about, I only mentioned this one on this whole podcast. And it's something that I like the way that they're doing, because if you're not really studying these episodes, you're gonna forget about it. Who's a character, a new addition that we haven't been talking about?
I'm trying to think who.
8.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so 8, she did that little house robbery at the beginning. And apparently, I think she's going to come when you least suspect it. Her power it looks like it's mind manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will be key, because on episode 4, while you were sleeping, Will said he's gaining new memories from the monster that possessed him. So 8 will have to come in and play mind games against the new monster. I think that's something. I think because she says, okay, something's going on with my brain. Like, I feel like memories and stuff. And the fact that it's already established that her specialty is really, the mind manipulation stuff. I really think she's going to be key in Will's progression. So it looks like every single, one of these kids, 1 through 11, I don't know if 11's the last one, have some type of, special thing. Like with the 8 looks like it's just, okay, she could create illusions.
Mm-hmm.
With 11, obviously she can move objects without, without touching them, without her hands and stuff, like a regular old Jean Grey. So, together they're forming their version of the X-Men. So I think that they positioned her in the first episode, but then you never saw her again. So while people, they put a diversion in front of you with the Smashing Pumpkins, and I'm like, ain't nobody care about pumpkins, man. Where 8 at? Show me where 8 at, guys. So let's get into it with, what was your favorite part of season 2?
My favorite part of season
so far.
Trying to think.
It could be like a scene, an action sequence, or just really a concept. So while you think, I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
I do think I'll say this is a knock, but the nostalgia is forced in a lot of the time. So I see why Netflix is going bankrupt, because they spent most of the money on music licenses for season 2. It's just every transition to another scene is playing some type of 80s top 40 record. So however, I think Stranger Things in season 2, they've graduated from using Christmas lights as tech to peek into the upside down, and now they're using other technology from that time period, like VCRs. So they're using their time frame wisely, that decade of the 80s, especially that year 1984, to where some of the ideas that they're bringing in, it's like, okay, this series isn't based in the 80s just to be based in the 80s. They're actually making use of some of the technology from the time. So I like that. Also, I like, the expansion of the upside down. I think we don't really know how the upside down works, but to use the analogy from season 1, they used the fly on the rope thing, to where a human could only walk on the top of the rope and the bottom, but a fly could walk on the top, the side, and the upside down. I just love that analogy. So Will is walking on the side of the rope right now, because I think they used 11 as a fly. And, now it's like, okay, more than one person could become a fly, and you could walk. It's not just about being in our world and in the upside down. You could be between. So you could be on the side of that rope. So they're expanding, different concepts when it comes to that place, the upside down. And I like that part as well. So I'm anxious to see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on what you're saying because like I like specifically with the technology of the 80s and how they're using it because I remember when Joyce like she was looking at the VHS and then she could see like the outline of the monster on Will, and I thought that was pretty cool because it was like it's so grainy, what I'm saying, the tape, but you could still see that like outline, like how it's shaped so perfectly, and she was just like, oh my gosh, like she's starting to actually believe him, and then like or like be more sympathetic to him, and then like you said, with the upside down and that whole mythology, even though it's not fully explained, but like you said, like just certain aspects, like with Eleven, like when she was trying to contact what's his name, like, and then like she was just trying to speak to him,
Mike.
Yeah, Mike, and then yeah, like I thought that was pretty cool. It kind of reminded me of it looked like the sunken place in Get Out in a way, but it was still pretty cool. Like I like that whole concept. And like you
remember, the sunken place looked like them because she was doing that. She was doing that in
season 1. True that.
Yeah,
True that.
the thing was, I always thought that was the upside down, like that was a part of the upside down, but it's not. So I really don't.
That's like her. I think that's her own thing. Like that's what I'm saying. Like what she's able to do.
I don't know if the other. Like numbers, number 1 through 11 could do that. That may be just her gift, but she's able to communicate with anyone regardless of their location. So technically, the way Will could use True Sight and see events that's happening in both places, both realms, she could just commute. She has like a cellular phone, like her cellular phone plan is basically it could reach anybody anywhere. So it's like, okay, let me holler at my mom real quick. And it jumps through time. That's the reason I compared her to Bran, because I'm like, oh, that's the same thing Bran could do, really, kind of. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I like it. Like you said, it's not explained thoroughly. At this point, it really doesn't need to be. It's just scientists don't even know how to explain the upside down. So I doubt I'm going to understand everything. But continue.
Yeah, and that was like the main parts that I like. And like you said, like with 8, because I totally forgot about that part. Like from because they glossed it over so quickly, and I'm just like, oh snap, that's another thread that they can pull on from episodes 5 through 9. Like, what I'm saying, like that reveal can pay dividends later on. So I'm just like, oh, okay. Like I like how like they're keeping that hush hush. And another thing that I like with TV shows, sometimes they like to play up a character's death, like where they hide the character for so long, or what I'm saying. I like how they revealed 11. Like it wasn't like 2-3 episodes in. It was just like it was right away, and then it wasn't like she stayed away from the group. It was just like boom, by episode 3, like she was already back with them in a way. So
2.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. 3. She was back with them, and she was chilling from the cut, acting jealous. But and 2, they already showed. Okay, I'm here. Another thing is, I want to see where it goes. This is more of a prediction thing, but you don't record the government and think you're going to get away with it. Somebody's going to have to get hurt. If these kids walk away clean, definitely, I don't know. That's just unbelievable that the government is like no holds bar. Like they want you dead if you release some information about that lab. So the fact that they recorded them, I want to see what happens with that. Like somebody going to have to get hurt. But yeah, so all in all, man, that's it. What we'll do is we'll watch the rest of the episodes probably today, and then we'll try to get another episode out maybe Thursday. So wishful thinking there, but we'll definitely try to get the episode 5 through 9. So guys, I'm really anxious to hear what you think about season 2 so far. Don't worry about spoilers for me. Personally, I don't care. So, but in the comment section, let me know some of your predictions for season 3, because some of you guys have binge watched this in one day. And honestly, I think I could have done the same, because I just thought it was going to be, like pretty taxing. But the episodes seem to go by pretty quickly. It feels like it's 30 minutes rather than 45. So, but give me your best predictions about season 3. Like, what do you think that's going to happen for it? So if you've seen all the episodes, tell me what events do you think will transpire in season 3? So I'm anxious to hear that. Hit us up in the comment section. So it's about that time, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Before you leave, if you like what you heard, share it with a friend on Apple Podcasts or wherever you go for your podcast. Definitely don't let this be the last time we hear from you or you hear from us. So support the show by giving us a visit on our Patreon. So it's patreon.com Couch Tomato Films. Also join us on the next episode where we finish discussing Stranger Things Season 2. So follow us on YouTube, Couch Tomato Films, Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter is Couch Tomato Film without the S. So other than that, peace.